So excited because a new launch with a brand new color and a new inseam is coming to you October 9th. But before...
Hey everyone. Today I'm back with another really exciting video. And yes, once again, we're diving into the world of Pinterest ad products. I know I've made quite a few videos like this already, but honestly, I can't seem to stop. Pinterest has basically become the place for aesthetic content. It's full of mood boards, dreamy photos, cozy home inspiration, outfits, and just endless pretty things that make you want to click. But lately, I've noticed that so many of those gorgeous-looking posts are actually advertisements in disguise. And that's where I come in. As I always say, let me spend my money on these potentially sketchy online finds so you don't have to, and I'll tell you whether they're actually worth buying or if they're just another overhyped internet trap. This time, some of the products really look like they could be great, while others, well, I have a strong feeling they might flop hard. Either way, it's going to be interesting, so let's get into it. Now, before we even start shopping, I just want to say how much I genuinely enjoy my Pinterest feed. I've spent so much time curating it to the point where it feels perfectly tailored to me. It's got everything. Those soft, comforting aesthetic villages like the Lennox spice boards, gorgeous wallpapers that I sometimes save just for the good vibes, and random little lifestyle ideas that just make me happy to scroll through. There's something about opening Pinterest and seeing all those clean, dreamy visuals that gives me a little dopamine rush every single time. But of course, right alongside all that curated content are the ads. And wow, do I get a lot of them? I've come across promotions for Temu, Wayfair Canada, Etsy Canada, and then this brand I had literally never heard of before, Whiskey Active. Their ad immediately caught my attention because it wasn't just a static product photo. It was styled like a haul video. They were unboxing pieces, trying them on, showing off the fits, and it honestly made me curious. I have to admit, the activewear they featured did look pretty cute. I really liked the scalloped edges on the set and the neckline design, so I thought, okay, I need to investigate this brand myself. So I went to the Whiskey Active website, and at first glance, it looked really polished. It wasn't giving scammy vibes at all, which is always reassuring when you're about to drop a decent amount of money. The site wasn't just focused on activewear either. They also had these really pretty, feminine skirt and top sets with floral patterns that gave off major spring picnic energy. But the piece that really stood out to me was the scallop cutout mock neck bra. This was the same one highlighted in the ad, and the design looked unique enough to justify a closer look. The price, though, was a little shocking. It was listed at $78, and at first I thought, okay, $78 Canadian dollars, that's steep but manageable. But then I realized, nope, it was $78 USD, and that definitely hurts a little more. Cue me quietly crying in Canadian dollars. Originally, I wanted the yellow version of the top because that's the one they featured in the Pinterest photo, but of course, it was completely sold out in every single size. And their size range is honestly pretty limited. They only carry small, medium, and large, which I really hope they expand in the future, because more inclusivity would make the brand so much better. Since the yellow wasn't available, I went for my second choice, a muted khaki color in size small. At least it looked like a versatile shade that would still be flattering. For the matching leggings, there were more options available, including yellow, but since I couldn't get the top in yellow, I stuck with muted khaki for a coordinated matching set. In the Pinterest ad, they had also shown a dress, the enchanting scallop A-line dress, which looked super cute and elegant in the video. That one was listed at $118 USD, which is definitely on the pricier side for something I'm ordering off an ad, but in the name of research, I decided to grab it in black. It seemed like the kind of versatile piece I could actually wear out if it turned out to be decent quality. By the time I added everything to my cart, the total had climbed up to $278 USD before tax and shipping, which is definitely a serious investment for products I've never tried before. But, you know, I took the plunge because I really wanted to see if Whiskey Active lives up to its Pinterest perfect marketing. Fast forward to the delivery day. The order finally arrived. Right away, I have to give them credit for presentation. The box looked sleek and thoughtfully designed, not flimsy or generic like you sometimes get with smaller brands. Inside, the individual items were packed in these thick, durable plastic bags that honestly felt higher quality than I expected. Packaging isn't everything, of course, but it does set the tone, and at least at first glance, Whiskey Active seemed to be delivering an experience that matched the price point. So, before we even talk about fit and style, let's touch on something I noticed right away. I don't think this brand is too concerned about sustainability. Honestly, that's not really surprising in the activewear world, because most companies lean heavily on synthetic fabrics. The tag made it pretty clear. These pieces are about 70% nylon and 30% spandex, which is pretty standard for that stretchy, water-wicking workout material. It's practical for performance, sure, but definitely not eco-friendly. The label also reads, "Made with love in China," which feels like a marketing attempt to soften the blow of fast fashion realities. Anyway, let's get into the pieces themselves. The first item I tried on was the top that appeared in the Pinterest ad in bright yellow. I couldn't get that exact color, so mine is the muted greenish khaki shade, but the design is identical. Right away, I noticed the scalloped detailing along the back. It's subtle, but very pretty and feminine. The top also comes with a built-in bra, which you can actually remove if you prefer wearing your own. The fabric feels sleek, smooth, and surprisingly soft, with just the right amount of thickness that makes it feel supportive without being suffocating. The leggings are made from the same fabric blend and are designed with a rounded seam detail around the back, clearly meant to give a more flattering shape to the butt. Again, the material feels sturdy and thicker than cheaper leggings I've tried, but still lightweight enough that it doesn't feel overly heavy for working out. Then, of course, there's the black scallop dress I ordered. It's made of the same material as the activewear, kind of like a thick workout fabric that you wouldn't expect in a dress, but it actually works in this style. Everything I ordered was in a size small, and at least from holding them up, they seemed like they'd fit properly. Now onto the try-on. I put on the scalloped top and leggings together, and honestly, I was impressed right away. Let me give you a 360, because it really is a good-looking set on the body. First, I want to highlight the fabric. It's seriously nice. Soft, flexible, and exactly that sweet spot of thickness. Not too thin that it feels flimsy, not so thick that it feels stiff. Of course, the first big question with activewear is always, is it see-through? Thankfully, in this muted khaki shade, I couldn't see any issues. It's fully opaque, which is a relief. That being said, I would be a little cautious if you're buying the yellow version they advertised. Historically, white and yellow leggings tend to be the most see-through on me, so I wouldn't be shocked if that were an issue. But this shade gets a thumbs up. The silhouette of the top is what really makes this set shine. I'm personally a huge fan of turtlenecks and high necklines, so this scalloped mock neck design felt really chic. It's sporty, yes, but also elevated.
So we are
It's the kind of workout outfit that makes you feel instantly more put together.
There is
And I think that matters. If wearing something nice to the gym boosts your confidence or motivates you to actually go, then it's worth it. Even the leggings have that extra scallop trim at the hem, which adds a touch of detail you don't usually see in gym wear. Best of all, the fit is comfortable, it's not digging into me awkwardly, and, big win, it doesn't feel like it's trying to give me a camel toe situation. But of course, looks aren't enough. We have to test functionality. And what better way than a few moves? Now, I'll admit, I worked out yesterday and I'm already kind of sore, but for the sake of this review, I powered through. I did a few parkour-style hops, some quick wall sits, a couple of kicks here and there, and even threw myself into a tumble just to see how the fabric held up. Nothing slipped, nothing pinched, and the set stayed in place without riding up. That's a big deal for me because a cute outfit is useless if it's constantly shifting around while you're moving. And speaking of workouts, this is the perfect moment to thank today's sponsor, Trainwell. I've actually been using Trainwell for over 2 years now, so when I say I genuinely like their service, I mean it. Trainwell is a one-on-one personal training platform that connects you with a real-life trainer through your phone, so you can work out at home safely with guidance tailored to you. They match you with a trainer through a test, which I think is really clever because it makes sure you get someone whose style works with your goals and preferences. I've been with my trainer Jill since the very beginning, and she's been amazing. She always listens when I bring up my goals or concerns, and if I'm dealing with soreness or an injury, she adjusts my workouts accordingly. One of the things I appreciate most about Jill is how she gradually increases the intensity of my workouts. Every couple of weeks, she'll tweak them just enough to make me stronger without overwhelming me. It's this subtle but steady progression that's really built my strength over time. To give you an example, when I first started, I was struggling through basic lunges. Then she had me doing weighted lunges, and eventually I worked my way up to Bulgarian split squats. Looking back now, I can do pistol squats, something I never would have imagined even 6 months ago. That kind of progress is honestly so motivating. The Trainwell app itself is also super user-friendly, which I appreciate because I am not the most tech-savvy person. You open the app, see your calendar with all the workouts your trainer has scheduled, click on one, and it starts right away. The workouts are timed, and the app gives you sound alerts when it's time to switch exercises, which keeps everything flowing without you having to stare at a clock. My favorite part, though, is that they don't just tell you what to do. They also show you videos of each exercise, so you can copy the form and know you're doing it right. Plus, there's accountability, because your trainer actually checks in on you, which for me makes a huge difference. If you're interested in trying it out, I have a link and QR code that gets you 14 days of free training, and honestly, if you've ever wanted that extra push with fitness, this is a great way to get started. But back to the outfit. The final check is whether it rides up or shifts around, and I'm happy to report, nope. It stayed put the entire time. For me, that's a big win. Alright, next up we have the dress. As soon as I pulled it out of the packaging, the repeating theme became clear. Scallops. If you're not a fan of scalloped edges, honestly, you might as well skip this brand entirely, because Whiskey Active clearly loves them. They've added scalloped detailing to just about every piece, from the neckline to the hem. Personally, I really love scallops. It gives everything a slightly softer, more feminine touch. So I'm not mad about it at all. This dress is long-sleeved, which I adore because it makes it feel a little more elevated and wearable beyond just workout settings. It also has a built-in bra, which for me is a plus because it means I can throw it on without extra layering. But here's the catch. I was convinced this would have built-in shorts, kind of like a tennis dress. Turns out, nope, it's just a dress. No hidden shorts, no built-in lining, nothing. That shocked me a bit because I immediately imagined wearing it for something active like tennis or a gym class, but realistically, I'd be worried about the skirt flying up. So that's something to be aware of. This is more of a lifestyle or athleisure dress than a functional sports one. On the back, there's Whiskey printed in bold letters, which made me pause again. I really want to know what Whiskey actually stands for, or if I'm even pronouncing it correctly. When I was filming my first impressions, I didn't really stop to think about the price too much, because my brain was still calculating everything in Canadian dollars. But now that I've sat with it, I have to say, these pieces are really expensive, especially considering they're priced in USD. That $78 top suddenly feels much steeper once you do the conversion. And as cute as the scallop designs are, at the end of the day, these are synthetic garments made mostly of nylon and spandex. You're not paying for luxury fabrics or sustainability here, you're paying for the cut, the branding, and the aesthetic. It's definitely an investment, and you'd have to really love the pieces to justify the splurge. Moving on, let's talk about the next product I stumbled across in my Pinterest scroll, the infamous Instant Wrinkle Fix. Now these are the kinds of ads that honestly drive me a little up the wall. They always show dramatic before and afters, zooming in on someone's wrinkles, basically telling you, hey, you're broken, but this cream will fix you. I know that's a classic marketing tactic, play on insecurities, sell the solution, but I don't have to like it. There's something about telling people their natural faces need to be fixed that just doesn't sit right with me. Still, curiosity got the better of me, and I wanted to see if this product actually does anything close to what the ad promised. This particular product is marketed as a Miracle Wrinkle Eraser, an instant wrinkle-free skin power fix. I've actually heard of this brand before because they had a foundation that went pretty viral a while back. Jan from The Office was even a spokesperson for it, which is why it stuck in my memory. And just like so many Pinterest ads, the before and after photos looked wild. Skin going from textured and lined to completely smooth, as if airbrushed. So naturally I thought, alright, let's put this to the test. On the brand's website, it's listed at $69, which is already a lot for what's essentially marketed as a primer or topical filler. You can subscribe and save 10%, but I just went with the one-off purchase. It's apparently a bestseller and has nearly 28,000 reviews, though you know how sketchy those mass review numbers can sometimes be. Still, it was intriguing enough to try. When it arrived, I will say the packaging looked sleek and high-end. It comes in a heavy glass container, with this little magnetized applicator stick, which felt fancy. Inside, the product itself looked kind of like a gummy silicone-based gel. Thick, clear, and tacky in texture. To test it properly, I zoomed the camera right up to my face. Pores, texture, frown lines, everything, so you could see the reality. My biggest wrinkle is right here between my brows, which is basically the result of me living in constant thinking face mode. I'm always frowning or squinting when I'm deep in thought, so it's just there permanently now. I also have larger pores on my nose, so I figured this would be a good place to test the smoothing claims. I dabbed a little on one side of my nose first. The formula felt thick and almost sticky going on. Side by side, I honestly didn't notice much of a difference. There was no color correction, no blurring that I could really detect. I added a bit to my forehead, blending it directly into that frown wrinkle, and then went ahead and applied my full face of makeup to see if it would perform better as a base. Looking closely in the mirror after my makeup was done, I have to be honest. I don't think it made a noticeable difference at all. My pores looked the same, the wrinkle line looked the same. Here's a close-up comparison. The side with the product and the side without looked pretty identical. For 70, that's disappointing. That said, the Pinterest ad was so convincing that I wasn't ready to give up. I decided to rope my mom into this experiment because she has more defined expression lines than I do, and I wanted to see if the results might show up more clearly on her. We both kind of laughed about it because our family just has very expressive faces. Wrinkles are just part of that, and honestly, they're not a bad thing. They're the lines that show we've lived, laughed, frowned, and cared. Still, for the sake of science, we tested the product on her too. That's right. Otherwise, it just makes me nervous. When someone's too straight-faced, I feel like I'm performing a circus act just to make sure they're actually following along or connecting with me. It's like I'm silently begging, "Hello? Are you even there? Can you hear me? Do you understand me?" At least with an expressive face, even if it comes with a few wrinkles or lines, I feel reassured. Wouldn't you rather I look at you with animated interest instead of sitting stone-faced like a statue? That's why I think lines have character. They tell stories. They're proof of laughter, stress, joy, and thought. Anyway, let's start testing this product on the forehead, because that's what they focused on in the video. They applied it, and almost like a magic trick, poof, the wrinkle just seemed to vanish. Of course, my skeptical side can't help but wonder, what happens when you wash your face? Does it stay gone? Obviously not, because this isn't repairing the skin on a cellular level. It's more like a cosmetic filler, a quick surface fix. Think of it like spackling a wall, just smoothing and blurring temporarily. Now moving on, this is the talking mouth area, which I've recently realized is where I'm getting lines that resemble those marionette puppet mouths. Honestly, it's not my favorite discovery, but as I'm applying it here, I can already see a subtle difference, especially around the pores. The blurring effect is noticeable. I'll let you try blending a dab yourself so you can really see how it works in real time. And yes, the pores look better, definitely smoothed. For me, the effect seems more convincing before I put on a full face of makeup. Once I layer foundation and powders on top, it starts to look a little cakey, which defeats the purpose. That's why I don't usually do heavy makeup. Lines and texture show through more. This product seems best on bare skin, or with the lightest touch of makeup layered afterward. But look closely, see what I mean? There is an effect. It's not revolutionary, it's not some miracle in a bottle, but there's a subtle improvement, and maybe that's enough for some people. Okay, little Pinky, you're up first. I started with my left hand, getting all of those nails on, and now it's time for the right. This time I decided to switch it up a little and go inverted, meaning my pinky nail would be the darkest shade instead of the lightest. It felt like a fun experiment, and honestly, I kind of like that I get to play around with the look while I do this. Once both hands had the tips placed, I realized the next step was to grind down the inside of the nails so they would grip onto my natural nails more securely. I know it sounds a little rough, but in this case, the rougher the surface, the better they'll adhere. Then it was time for the gel nail glue. The instructions said, apply a thin layer across your natural nail and cure it for about 45 seconds. I have to admit, the glue doesn't feel like the highest quality product in the world. It's a little on the cheap feeling side, but it's passable. The process is slightly tedious since you can only do one nail at a time, but I went ahead, brushed on a thin layer, at least what I considered thin, popped it into the little UV lamp, and waited. We're curing, I kept saying to myself like some kind of ritual. And then done. But that wasn't the end. The instructions wanted another layer of gel glue, this time not only on my nail but also inside the nail tip itself. So I went in, carefully placed the tip onto my nail, and pressed it down firmly as it set under the light. I was basically holding my nail in place, hoping it would bond properly. And wow, it really did. Once it locked on, I could feel it. This thing wasn't budging. Honestly, I was a little scared at how permanent it felt. There was a small leftover tab at the tip from where the nail had been attached to the sheet, but filing that off was surprisingly easy. Then I sealed it all in with the top coat, cured it one last time, and suddenly, bam, I had this shiny, professional-looking nail staring back at me. I had to pause and admire them. Like, Pinterest, are you seeing this? Because I am live, loving the results. They genuinely looked like I had just come from a salon. If I'd had a bigger lamp, I could have powered through more quickly. But since I was stuck with this tiny one, I had to do each nail one at a time. A little time-consuming, but the results made me forget the hassle. Still, nails are all about durability, so I knew the real test would be how long they lasted. I had tried beetle nails in the past. Looked amazing at first, but popped off within 3 days. So I was determined to wear test these. Cut to 3 days later. Bad news. I lost una nail. I was honestly so disappointed because things were going so well. But at the same time, I knew I had been pretty rough on my hands. By day 5, I was down 2 nails. Still, that's not terrible when you consider how much strain I put them through. And by the 1-week mark, I was honestly impressed. My left hand was still fully intact, while my right hand had lost a couple but held on to the rest like champs. And when I say I wasn't easy on these, I mean it. I was out in the garage lugging giant bags of clothing around, grabbing heavy things, basically treating my nails like tools. For me, press-ons usually don't last longer than a single day under that kind of treatment, so having a set hang in there for an entire week, that's a win. The only real downside is the time it takes to apply them, about an hour and a half for me, but I could see myself using these again, especially for special occasions like weddings or vacations where I want my nails to look extra polished without paying salon prices. And now that I know I can combine this gel system with other press-ons using the glue and light, I feel like I've unlocked a whole new way of doing my nails at home. So overall, yes, there were some hiccups, but these nails really impressed me. They looked professional, lasted longer than I expected, and gave me that boost of confidence that comes with fresh nails. Honestly, I'm hooked. What's really going on here today? I find myself asking that because the situation feels a little unusual, even slightly absurd. And while I wouldn't describe myself as superstitious, maybe I'm just a little stious, that small edge of curiosity that makes me pause before dismissing something outright. Today's adventure begins with a heated eyelash curler, which at first glance I actually mistook for mascara because of the way it seemed to coat the lashes in the videos I had seen. But no, it isn't mascara at all. It's a curling wand, although nearly everyone who demonstrates it online seems to already have mascara applied, which makes judging its true effect a little tricky. When I finally held it in my hand, I had to admit that it looked a bit like a tiny torture device, the kind of thing you approach cautiously and with a slightly raised eyebrow. Still, curiosity wins, and I decided to give it a proper test. The model in the advertisements wears false eyelashes, which makes the results look dramatic, but I wanted to see how it would work on my own lashes, which are naturally straight and fairly stubborn. For people like me, the idea of a heated tool that could set a curl in place actually makes a lot of sense, so I offered up my eyeball for science. This particular eyelash curler cost me $33, and I made sure to have a full face of makeup on, minus the mascara, so that I could really see the difference. The packaging was surprisingly minimal and feather-light, almost insubstantial, but inside it did come with a charger and a lash spoolie. The unit itself was slim, sleek, and almost too simple, with the heating element housed in a little silver strip that glowed to life once switched on. When I turned it on, a blue light blinked, signaling that it was heating up, and soon the indicator changed color from blue to pink, meaning it had reached the default temperature of 50 degrees Celsius. A triple click would allow you to increase the temperature, 65 at the middle setting, and 80 at the highest, but I decided to stay at the lowest, because honestly, 50 degrees near your eyeball is already nerve-wracking. To properly test it, I came up with a little experiment. One eye would get mascara without the curler, and the other would get the heated curl before mascara, so I could compare the before and after fairly. As the tool warmed, I gingerly pressed it near my lashes, feeling the heat radiate in an unnerving but oddly effective way. At first glance in the mirror, I thought the effect was negligible, but upon closer inspection, I could see that the curled lashes did flip upward slightly more at the base. It was subtle, but noticeable if you paid attention. The danger, though, is real. This tool gets hot enough that if you place it too close to your lash line, you risk singeing delicate skin, and the thought of a burn so close to the eye made me extra cautious. I couldn't help muttering warnings to myself like, "Careful, don't burn yourself." while also second-guessing whether I should hand it off to someone steadier. Watching the results side by side, the curled lashes did look a touch more lifted, but to be perfectly honest, it was so subtle that on camera you couldn't even tell. Even from the side profile, the difference was practically invisible. The heated lash curler, then, becomes one of those tools that sits in a gray area. Not entirely useless, but not the miracle worker that flashy Pinterest videos make it out to be. From there, my beauty experiment shifted into another internet phenomenon: wrinkle removal patches. These little adhesive sheets claim to prevent or even erase wrinkles by holding the skin taut and preventing your face from scrunching, especially while you sleep. I've seen them suggested to me in endless videos, and they always remind me of another viral product, the so-called wrinkle filler, that I tested earlier. Now, on a personal note, I truly believe that aging is a blessing, and wrinkles are a natural, beautiful part of that process. They tell stories about where we've been, how much we've laughed, and the experiences that have shaped us. If society as a whole could shift its mindset toward embracing that inevitability rather than fearing it, products like these wouldn't hold nearly as much power. Still, as someone who gets sent this kind of thing constantly, often forwarded by my grandmother, who, bless her heart, falls for every flashy promise of age reversal, it's worth testing to see if there's anything real behind the claims. The wrinkle patches market themselves with dramatic before and after photos. One image of a person frowning or raising their eyebrows, with fine lines creasing their skin, and then another image with a magically smooth forehead. No wrinkles in sight. To me, it looks suspiciously like Botox results rather than what a thin piece of silicone could achieve. Nevertheless, the packaging promises overnight wrinkle removal without going under the knife, a statement that is as bold as it is misleading. One marketing line even reads, "Don't let age erase your beautiful features," which I find to be a damaging and manipulative message aimed directly at women's insecurities. Despite my skepticism, I decided to go through with the test, ordering a full kit to see if it could deliver even half of what it claimed. That's where Nova Skincare entered the picture. I placed an order for their silicone face sheets on March 5th, expecting delivery within weeks. But as days stretched into weeks and then months, it became clear that this might have been nothing more than a clever scam. $65 later, I found myself resigned to the fact that the product was never arriving. I waved goodbye to the money, chalked it up to experience, and reminded myself once again that in the beauty industry, the gap between hype and reality is often wider than the smoothest wrinkle-free forehead a patch could ever promise. After being convinced I had been completely scammed, I suddenly and unexpectedly received an email in mid-June saying my order had shipped. Months after I had given up hope and already written off the $65 as gone forever. And then, not even a full week later, a small package actually arrived on my doorstep, containing, of all things, the silicone wrinkle patches I had ordered along with 2 mysterious tubes of conducting gel. At first glance, I assumed this gel was what you used to help the patches adhere, but honestly, the packaging was so bare and uninformative that I was left with more questions than answers. The kit included 2 silicone sheets, one designed for the forehead or T-zone area, and those 2 bottles of gel with absolutely no explanation printed on them. For the price I paid, it already felt a little cheap, almost like a knockoff product you'd find in a discount bin. The instructions were vague at best, telling me only to start with freshly cleansed skin, completely free of oils and residue, then apply the Nova Activating Gel or a similar water-based facial gel before pressing on the patches. To measure results, I took a careful look at my bare face in the mirror beforehand, figuring any visible difference would show most clearly on my forehead lines. When I opened one of the gel tubes, I was surprised by the texture. It was slick, watery, and slightly silicone-like, almost the consistency of watered-down primer. That made me wonder about the reusability of the patches. Were they meant for a single application only, or could you get multiple uses out of them? Because if it's a one-and-done deal, this would quickly become a very expensive and impractical beauty routine. The directions claimed you could wear the patches for just 15 to 20 minutes for light results, or even overnight for something more dramatic. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at that. 15 minutes was not going to magically erase wrinkles. When I finally peeled one patch out of its sleeve, it was thicker and sturdier than expected, more like a piece of medical silicone than a flimsy sticker. Following the demonstration I had seen online, I pressed it tightly